Welcome to Faith Over Fear, the Christian Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Natalie Portman, a wife, mama, birth doula, and childbirth educator. And I believe God has a better way for us to experience birth, one without fear, striving, or self-glorification. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and instead trust the Lord more deeply in pregnancy, birth, and motherhood, you're in the right place. Here you'll find inspiring birth stories, biblical encouragement, and practical wisdom to help you walk in faith over fear during this beautiful and challenging season. Now let's get started. Hey friends, and welcome back. I'm so excited for today's episode because I'm welcoming my very first guest to the show, Sarah Salain. Sarah is a registered nurse, a new mama, and the founder of Simply Sarah Healing, where she supports women through fertility, pregnancy, and postpartum with a faith-filled, holistic approach. I had the honor of meeting Sarah when she took my childbirth education class during her own pregnancy, and her story is such a beautiful picture of God's faithfulness. In today's conversation, we talk about her health journey, her miraculous birth story, and how she's helping other women find peace and clarity in their own wellness journeys. I know you'll be encouraged by her heart and reminded that God is present even in the waiting. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Natalie. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. Well, let's just get rolling. Let's start from the beginning. What was your journey like to actually becoming pregnant?
So our journey was a little longer than expected. We were dealing with a lot of hormonal issues. So it was quite a trying process, to be honest with you. We were trying for a little over 2 years to conceive. And so we were just trying to figure it all out. We got to the point where we actually reached out to an infertility specialist. That was like my very last straw. We're like, okay, we've been waiting for so long now. Maybe we do need extra support. That's what I do for a living, is help women heal their hormones and balance their hormones and beat infertility. So it was like a double-edged sword because my clients were getting pregnant following my protocols and I was not. Everyone around me, all of our friends were getting pregnant, family members, everything. And so of course I was celebrating everyone around us, but it was still painful that we were going through that silent battle. We didn't really tell anyone. Close people to us knew that we were struggling, but I don't think anyone really knew the extent of how heavy it was on our heart. And so I got to the place around, actually, it was this time last year, we actually found out that we were pregnant, which is wild. But around February last year, we got to our tipping point of what is happening. And I was frustrated. I was let down. I was at the place where I was starting to see life being okay without being a mom. I would say I was trying to come to terms with it. Deep down I really know, but I was just trying to come to terms with the fact that maybe this wasn't for us. Thinking about all the trips that we could take and let's go over to Europe and let's do this and let's do that. And just trying to imagine life if it were to just be me and my husband. And we decided to go seek fertility specialist, and we drew labs, we did the whole thing, and basically presented some options for us, like procedures and medication and this and that. And it just did not feel right to me at all. It just didn't feel aligned, which is probably why it took so long to get there in the first place. Honestly, it was just out of a form of desperation, really. And I honestly just wanted the lab work to see, okay, am I missing something? What's going on here? And a few things did come back that were a little out of range, and it was just disheartening because they didn't want to address those before we jumped into medication or anything. So it was really heavy on my heart. I prayed about it a lot, and I decided, I had the tough conversation with my husband. This is not what I want to do. I really don't want to do this. And that was a really hard decision to make and verbalize it too, because why wouldn't I? I wanted to be a mom so bad. Why wouldn't I sign up, pay, and do the procedures and take the medication? And that felt my chance to be a mom was wrapped up in a bow, and here you go, you can have it this way. And it just didn't feel right. I cannot even explain. It was just this deep feeling on my heart when I was praying about it. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Just wait, be patient. I have more for you, is all the stuff that I kept hearing. And around this time too, my husband, we were thinking about moving. And so we were like, that was up in the air. An opportunity was presented to us. We're like, do we take it? Like, what do we do? And it's crazy, Natalie, because we could not come to a decision. Like, it was just, like, so heavy on our heart and our household, like, you could feel the energy of it. "What are we doing? Are we gonna move? Are we gonna move? Are we gonna move?" He could not make a decision. And literally at the last minute, "I just feel like we need to stay here. I feel like we're supposed to stay here." So we went to the fertility specialist in February, and we found out that we were pregnant in May. So it was just it was shocking to find out I was pregnant. But in that moment, it really felt like everything came together. Like the Lord was like, just wait, I have something better for you. You just have to hold out on it. And I could feel that so heavily in our journey. So yeah, it was a wild journey to get pregnant, honestly.
Such a testament to the Lord's faithfulness. It's also just beautiful to see your obedience in that season because obviously he did. He blessed you guys with a baby. How was your pregnancy overall? And how did you prepare emotionally, spiritually, and practically for that?
Yeah. So I loved being pregnant. It was probably, honestly, the best that I've ever felt in my entire life. I
Bless
enjoyed
you.
the moment of my pregnancy. I really did. Of course, there were some hard days, and the third trimester really knocked me down a little bit, but really, truly loved every second of it. I don't know if that just came from a place of feeling so much gratitude that I was able to experience it and just shocked at what my body could do on a daily basis. But honestly, I just loved it. I felt so honored. I felt like I get to do this. I'm honored that I get to do this. I get to grow this baby. I get to nourish this baby. I just, I don't know. I had so much gratitude that I was just living in this like bubble. I loved pregnancy. I was so scared. So I actually started talking on social media about it a little bit. I was so scared to be pregnant because I had heard so many horror stories. You're going to feel terrible and you're going to be the sickest you've ever felt. And it's terrible. It's the worst 9 months of your life. You're going to hate every second of it. And so I was petrified, and when I was experiencing it, I just never felt that way. I just
Wow.
loved every second of it. And so I did a lot of prep. My husband and I both did a lot of prep on that, like infertility, struggling to get pregnant. We revamped our entire home. We got rid of toxins. I revamped my entire nutrition. He did too. We were like in the best health that we could be in. And so I would like to say I was living an 80-20 rule, but I was living like a 90-10 because I really was desperate to get pregnant. And I really wanted my body to be in the best place possible for that. And I do think that contributed to a really good pregnancy. As far as like spiritually, I just felt so overcome. Like this whole journey has really, I feel, brought me closer to the Lord in a way, which is really weird. Like I've always had a great relationship. I feel like a personal relationship with the Lord and my faith, and I've always relied on that, but it brings it to the next level
Oh, definitely.
when you're pregnant after childbirth, like it just does something to you internally. And so I've just relied on that. Like I relied on that on the hard days. I relied on that on the really good days, that he's here and that this is a gift and I get to experience that. And she was perfectly made because of him. And that's just an honor. So
Yes.
how I prepared for that season.
I love that. And then you also hired a doula.
I did hire a doula. That was the first thing I did. I met Kayla. I posted on a mom's group. That was the first thing I did. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, we need a doula because I knew nothing about childbirth. I knew nothing about it. I'm a nurse. I've had rotations in labor and delivery. All I knew is I was petrified and I wanted someone with a holistic approach. I didn't even think I wanted to do an unmedicated birth. I was just like, I just want someone in the room with me to support me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I posted on mom's page and so many people had recommended you guys, had recommended Kayla. And so I clicked on the website. There were hundreds of comments for doulas, hundreds. And when I clicked on the website, I saw that it was faith-based and easy decision. I didn't even think twice about it. I booked the call link or whatever I had to do, and I set up a time to meet her. I had met Kayla before we even had our first confirmation ultrasound.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, she was literally like the first person that really knew that we were pregnant. And then when we had the confirmation, it was just like, bam. And so Kayla has literally been with us from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, that support within itself, even especially that early on, because of course, when you're trying for so long, there's a lot of fear and some doubt creeps in. Is this really going to work for us? Is this really our time? And so having Kayla that early on was really nice too.
Yes. And for those who are not aware, Kayla, Journey, and I, Sarah's doula, and I work together. We're in a doula collective. So, yeah, we work together. And then, Sarah, you took my childbirth ed class as well. So that's how I got to actually meet you in person, was during that class.
Oh, I loved that class so much. When people think you think about a childbirth class and you're like, okay, I have to do this. They should do this. And then your husband's, oh, do we have to do this? But you just should do it. I left that class in tears because I felt so empowered. And birth has always scared me. It's always
Mhm.
scared me. I've never really wanted to do it. I'm like, if I could have the baby, but not actually physically have the baby, let's do that. But when I left that class, I'm like, gosh, I can do this. I feel really empowered. So I love that class, and you offer that online now too, right?
I do. Yeah. So I'm offering it online. And then if you're local in Jacksonville, then I do it still in person as well. But yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you feel that way because that truly is my prayer is that we would face this season not with fear. We would not make decisions out of fear, but we would walk in faith and walk out this season just knowing that it is not up to us to make everything fall into place, that he is the one that's in control, that he is the one that is planning and establishing everything that's taking place. And I know a little bit about your birth story, but I can't wait for you to get into the birth story because I know there was just like some really amazing, just like God things that happened. So let's just dive right into your birth story. How far along were you when you actually went into labor?
Okay, yeah. This is actually the first time I've talked about my birth in person, like live. Like I've had conversations
Oh,
about it with friends and stuff, but I've never really talked about it and haven't talked about it on social media either. Okay. So back it up to I think 20 weeks at our anatomy scan, or maybe even before that, our girly was growth restricted. So I had some placenta complications. And so we were going to get scans every 4 weeks for her growth. She was falling like a little behind on the charts, but nothing serious. And all of our blood work came back fine. So they weren't too concerned. But as we started getting to the end, she started dropping percentiles quite a bit. And I just had this feeling I kept telling everyone for about a month, I'm like so her due date was the 27th of January, and I just had this feeling that she was coming the 17th, 18th, or 19th. I had wrote it in my little journal that I was journaling to her my whole pregnancy. I'm like, "I just don't think that it's happening on the 27th." And so leading up to that appointment at 37 weeks, we were gonna do another scan to check her, and I just had this deep feeling, so I actually called an acupuncturist and I said, "Hey, is there any way that we can do like a crash course of acupuncture to induce labor before my 37 weeks? Because I really have a feeling they're going to induce me in 3 days." And she's like, "Normally, this is not how fast we do this. Let's just try it, give it a go." So she was amazing. She came to my home and basically we just wanted to make sure that baby was responding okay and doing it things safely. So we did the first session and Natalie, there was something very spiritual that happened during that session. I don't know. It was like my last moments with her
mhm.
inside of me. And I had this whole thing where I was just not ready for it. I was not ready to give birth. I was not ready for it to not be just me and her anymore. I like just this protection over her. I was not ready. And so the acupuncturist came to my home. We did it in my bedroom, and it was just so spiritual. Like, I had the worship music playing, and I could just feel it was my job as a mother to tell her, like, "Okay, it's time to come.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. We're waiting for you. You're safe." And so we did 2 nights of that, and labor had kicked on just a little bit. And when I went in for my 37th week appointment, of course, she had dropped percentiles, her movement was decreased, and they were like, "Okay, you're getting induced tonight. You're having this baby tonight." And so that went against everything that I wanted. I did not wanna be induced.
Yeah.
Natalie, that was the last thing I ever wanted was to have Pitocin. I was terrified of that. I just wanted a spontaneous labor. I wanted to trust the Lord's timing. And so that kind of threw me for a loop. Like I literally cried. I had a breakdown as soon as she came into the room and she's like, "You're having your baby today." I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." So we went into the hospital to be induced. And honestly, I wasn't fearful at all. And I thought I was going to be. I don't know what overcame me, but I just wasn't very fearful at all. I just walked in and I was like, "We're doing this because we don't have another choice." But never in the process of this entire situation did I feel scared or fearful or anything. I just had this reassurance like come over me, like everything's going to be okay. And thankfully, with Kayla's guidance and everything and the practice that I was with, we did a really slow induction that really truly mimicked natural childbirth. They attempted their hardest to mimic a natural childbirth. And yeah, we started the induction that night. And then around 5 a.m., they started Pitocin. But I was like contracting and everything was going and going, but I was not feeling any pain. And I'm like, surely this cannot be what's going on here. Like I'm not feeling any pain. And so we decided to break my water. No one told me that was like a 0 to 100.
Yeah, it is insane how quickly things change when that water is broken. For a lot of women, it definitely can.
It was very insane to me. Yeah, I didn't even have a full 60 seconds to catch my breath. And I thought I'd have, okay, 5 minutes. Kayla is like, typically things speed up pretty fast after this. I just was not prepared for how fast. And so we broke my water, and that's when things started to get really intense. Kayla went into just full work mode. So my room was beautiful. The lights were dim. I don't think the lights were ever bright at all. Actually, they weren't the entire time. We had little twinkle lights everywhere. We had the birthing tub set up. That's something I really wanted to do because I'm a water bug and I love hot water. So I knew I wanted to do that. And we had worship music playing. It was just this serene environment. How could it be in a hospital room? I've never said that in my life. I worked in the hospital. It's always been like sterile and gross to me, but it was just this crazy experience. When my water broke, we went straight into the tub. And I know a lot of people say water is like nature's epidural, but really and truly, it was not that bad.
Yeah. It's like you become so much lighter and buoyant in the water, and it just melts some of that pressure. It's incredible.
It's incredible, and I just floated there for about 2 hours. The worship music was going, and that was just in my head, and it just felt like this huge presence of the Lord was in the room. You could just feel it, and yeah, it was just this surreal experience, truly, and I kept telling myself, "Is it gonna get worse? Is it gonna get worse?" Because I just felt, like, very comfortable, and I felt very confident in what I was doing, and I really was just surrendering to it. I guess that's what I could say. I was surrendering to the process. I was surrendering to what my body was doing and what my body was telling me to do, and I wasn't fighting it. I was just trying to breathe through it and just lean into how women are innately, and yeah, it was just amazing. I told Kayla, I'm like, "I think I have to push. I think I need to get out of this tub." And it's crazy because, like I said before, I didn't even know when I had met Kayla or hired a doula or any of that if I wanted to actually do a unmedicated birth. It was just like this little thought in my mind, like maybe my husband's, "Yeah, you should do it." And even leading up to the day of, I still didn't know if I was like, maybe I can do it. But being in that room, it was never even a thought in my head, like, I need an epidural or I need pain medication or I can't do this. Never once crossed my mind. It was just surreal. I felt honored that I got to experience all of that and feel all of it. Yeah. So then we transferred over to the bed and we started pushing. And I guess the whole labor process of active labor was only 4 hours. So I
Wow.
really quick process once that water was broken. That was like the last thing that just needed to happen. She came pretty quick. But when you're in it, days could have passed and I wouldn't have known. You're like in this
Yeah.
twilight of just
I call it labor land, and labor land, there's no times. It's very hard to explain.
very hard. I felt like at some points, and I'm pretty sure I told Kayla this, that I'm like leaving my body. I think I'm leaving my body. Like, I just felt like
Yes.
I was on a whole different realm of things.
Well, you're literally operating in a different part of your brain. It does feel out of body. Like I also, as you were saying that, like kind of got transported back to whenever I was in my birth pool. And like I distinctly remember a time it kind of felt out of body, like kind of see myself, but obviously couldn't, but it was, yeah, it's very intense. Like you're just going into like a very deep instinctual part of yourself that you probably rarely go to.
I've never felt that way in that sense at all, and not in a bad way, just out of I've never experienced anything like that. Intense is a good word to put it. It was the most intense thing I've ever
Yeah.
experienced in my life in a very good way, and I had all the supportive measures though, and that was the amazing thing about having a doula, having doula there was my husband was there with me, but I think I would have given into the fear if it had just been the 2 of us in the hospital room. Instead, I had Kayla there and she was keeping ice on my back, had the fan in my face, using peppermint oil, the TENS unit, massage, down to the fact that she literally kept putting chapstick on my lips because she knows that I didn't want to have dry lips. Like all
Yeah.
those things meant so much because I didn't have to focus on anything else. She had literally everything handled. And I could hear her in the background of telling my husband, "You're doing great. Like, you're doing everything that you can do for her." And she was encouraging him. He's like, "I don't know if I'm doing the right things. I don't know if I'm saying the right things. I don't know what I could do for her." And so hearing her encourage him was amazing too. And then when it got to the hard part of, I don't know if I can do this, like I knew I could, but I'm like, oh, this is getting a little hard. How much longer? I remember saying to Kayla specifically, I'm like, "This is really painful." And she's like, "Yeah, it is painful." And she validated how I felt in that experience. And she reassured me that pain and the discomfort that I was feeling was going to bring me closer to my baby. And hearing those words was just so encouraging. It wasn't like, "No, it's not that much pain," or, "Yeah, it's painful now, but it's not gonna last forever." It was very much real. "Yes, this is painful, and you're experiencing this right now, and that is valid, and it's gonna bring you closer to your baby." And I will never forget when she said that.
Yep.
Yep.
Pain with a purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the way she just intertwined everything and just filled my birth experience with the Lord was unreal to me and amazing. To the point where so we got out of the tub and we were pushing. I was pushing for quite a bit. She was a little lopsided in there. But I distinctly remember like my husband was behind me and he's like, "If you have the baby now, it'll be at 8:18 PM." And 8:18 is my favorite Bible verse, Romans 8:18. And it's basically like, "For I consider the current sufferings to at this present time are not compared to the glory to be revealed." And I actually have that 8:18 tattooed on my wrist. Right before I went to see the fertility specialist, I was just at the brink of it, and 8:18 was just on my heart. I'm like, "I'm getting this tattooed for my baby. It's carrying me through this really hard time." And that's just something that I always relied on. Like, what you're going through right now, it's going to get better. Glory is going to be revealed. He's going to reveal it to me. It's not worth the suffering right now. Like, it's going to turn around. And I've relied on that verse for a lot of things in my life, but truly, like, our infertility journey is what really I relied it on. And sure enough, she was born at 8:18.
I have goosebumps over my whole body. That is insane.
Every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. I still feel like I haven't come to terms with it yet, but
Yeah.
it really was like the Lord saying, "This is what you waited for. This perfect baby is what you waited for, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to let you know." Yeah, she was born January 17th, so she did not come on the 27th. She came on the weekend I thought she was going to come, and January 17th at 8:18 PM.
I love that so, so much. How did the postpartum time go? I mean, you're only what, 15 weeks postpartum right now, so you're still very much in the thick of it, but how did those first couple days go with her?
So, yes, very much still in the thick of it. We're still a little bit in the trenches. Just as a first time mom, I'm learning a lot. There's a lot that I don't know. And yeah, they say a lot of it is innate, and I think it is for sure, but it is a huge adjustment to life. So the first few days were a little rough. She actually ended up going into the NICU. So our hospital stay wasn't really like the typical hospital stay. So we just didn't get a lot of that super amazing bonding time. We did try to spend as much time in the NICU with her as possible. And then coming home was just a lot of relaxing and recovering and spending as much time with her as possible. I remember like the only thing in my mind was take as many videos as you can. And it was a really special time. Yeah, we just all got to snuggle this tiny little baby and just come to terms with the fact that she's here.
Oh, I love that so much. And then how did you do, like, recovery wise? Did you feel like it was easier or tougher than you imagined it would be?
I'm not going to lie to you. I did not prepare for postpartum. Not one bit. Not one bit. I was so scared to give birth that I could not even get my brain to the fact that I was actually gonna leave the hospital and experience postpartum and have a child. Like, there was a block there.
I feel you. And I shared that in my story with my second because same thing. I just was like, I'm just gonna get to this birth and all the things, and then completely neglected to really care for myself for that postpartum time, preparing for, the fact that I have another kid that I also need to take care of and all the things. So I feel you there. And I'm a doula, so I should know this. And we just have to cut ourselves some slack on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely did not prepare. The recovery was a little bit more rough than what I expected. I anticipated having a natural childbirth, and I just really anticipated it being an easy recovery. Online, you see so many people 3 weeks postpartum going on a mile walk. I was healthy before. I was very active before. I was healthy and active my entire pregnancy. So I was just shocked at the recovery. But I would say around that 8-week mark, I started feeling like myself again.
Well, and it's so fascinating because I feel like, especially like high achievers, like you strike me as a high achiever, but it's actually counterintuitive to think to yourself, oh, I can't wait to see all the things I can get back into or try to get back to my quote unquote normal self. That type of mentality ends up biting you in the butt. And I fell into that trap myself. I try to encourage mamas that a sign of success in that postpartum time is not all of the things you're doing. It's not bragging about the fact that you're going on walks around the neighborhood 1 week postpartum. It's like, that's not the point. It's a time to slow down, to savor those moments. The times with that little newborn absolutely fly by. Take as many pictures and videos as you can, because that baby, that version of your child is very quickly going to change. And if you rest, you will recover faster. It's just a fact.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that so much because it's true when you say that. Just, I think around like 12 weeks, she really started changing. Just like now I look at her and she's got this full personality and she's rolling and, moving and has an opinion about stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're like a little toddler. Like she's obviously not, but she's not a newborn anymore. And those days are over. So it does rapidly fly by for sure. And I've struggled with that a lot as a business owner and just very type A driven, likes to do everything and likes to do it on my terms. It's been a lot to find my new capacity, is what I'm saying. And it's been a lot of surrendering. It's been a lot of days in my kitchen doing laps with worship music with my baby pressed to my chest, surrendering to it and saying the laundry can pile up because I'm doing what I need to do for this child. The work can wait because I am serving my child. And so I've been trying very hard to see postpartum and motherhood as, and I think I mentioned this when I talked to you before, like kingdom work. Like,
Yes.
this is a ministry now. This is what I do. My sole purpose is for my child. And so surrendering to that, although it sounds like so beautiful and it is, it's very hard.
Yeah. Well, because you don't get a time of taking that hat off, taking off that role. Like, once you have in your heart the desire to have a baby, from that point on, you are tethered to either that goal or that dream of becoming a mom. And then once they're conceived and born, forever, that is the role that you will have. And it's not that they completely and utterly take over your life for the rest of your life, but the Lord certainly does call us to a season where there will be much more give than take, and your discipleship of them begins immediately. Everything you are doing is to train them up in the ways of the Lord, to know the Lord, to love him, to hopefully serve him one day. But it begins from the very beginning. And that weight is so much. But I think if we try to just skip ahead to like the next season, we can miss out on the fact that like changing a diaper is kingdom work. Just like Jesus dressed himself as a servant and washed his disciples' feet. He made himself the lowest and said, and now I want you to all do this too. So as mamas, we are loving and serving just like Jesus did when we love and serve our babies.
It's an honor to be able to do that.
But it's also extremely draining. And so kind of, what Kayla said about, what you're experiencing. Yes, this is hard. So to validate that, but also to say, but it's pain with a purpose. Like that is the motherhood journey. Like there is hardly anything more sanctifying than becoming a mama. I mean, quite literally, you go through the trial, whether that's a vaginal delivery or a cesarean delivery, you go through the trial of growing, giving birth to that baby, raising them, feeding them, changing them, doing all the things. But yeah, it is pain with a purpose for sure.
So true. There is so much of a miracle, and it just continuously happens. Like it's just an ever-giving miracle. And so
Yeah.
it's amazing to see that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I want to kind of switch gears here. Thank you so much for sharing your birth story, but I wanted to kind of talk about Simply Sarah Healing. What made you decide to start your business, and how did you know God was leading you to serve women in that way?
Oh, that's such a good question. And that's a hard, loaded question too. So I was a emergency department nurse. That's where I started my career during the pandemic. And so I started experiencing a lot of my own hormonal issues. Things were off, infertility, all those things. I left the bedside to manage my stress because my end goal was to be a mom. And based off of my fertility and hormone labs, that was not going to happen under the stress I was under or with the way I was feeling. So my husband and I decided the move for our family is to find something more suitable for our future. And so I went into a functional med spa. And at that time, I was really struggling with my health. It was really struggling with a lot of things. So I signed up to be a holistic nutritionist just solely to help my body heal because I wasn't getting answers from any providers. And when I started seeing the change in my body and leaning into my hormones and what was happening, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this. I have to help other women who are also struggling. I knew women were struggling. They were coming to me at the med spa all the time talking about it. It felt like time to make a switch. And it was like everything in my life was falling apart. Like all the doors were just like slamming shut. And I was like, this is my sign. This is my sign because I'm doing life my way. And maybe this is him just closing all of these doors. Like he was slamming them shut in my face. And so I just on a whim did it. And I started Simply Sarah Healing. So I help women heal their hormones, overcome PCOS, infertility, fertility support. And I do it naturally with cycle-based nutrition and also just holistic nutrition, lifestyle changes. And it's wild because I always say I never really publicly talk about the things that I'm going through until I come out on the other side. And so my business is really wrapped up in that. Like it served me to the point where I knew that this is what I had to do with one, my career, but two, like my life. I feel like this is my trajectory to my life. I feel like God gave me the circumstances of struggling to conceive a child and having hormonal issues and going through all of those struggles and painful times. I feel like He gave me that because He knew that I wouldn't lose myself in it. I wouldn't just fall into that. I would surrender to it and get through it and come out on the other side. And I really truly feel like I do what I do and I'm good at it because I lived it. I am that and that I work with. And so I feel like the Lord really blessed me in that way, although very painful times. He knew that I would help other women on the other side of it. And I strongly believe in that.
Yes, definitely. Well, I feel like a lot of women, they feel overwhelmed when they start looking into like holistic health and nutrition. But what would you say to a woman who wants to start taking better care of her body, but she doesn't know where to start?
Community, for sure, community. It can be
Yeah.
so isolating being a mom or being a woman, being a working woman, like whatever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're going through, it can be very isolating. And so trying to work on yourself and work on your health can also be isolating. So find community. I feel like the majority of the clients I work with, they just need love. They need compassion. They need empathy. They need support. They don't have that. I have a whole collective, the She Rebalance Collective. The whole point of that is to get women in community. If you can't find it where you're at, then let's do it virtually. Just finding support, finding friends, finding women who are going through the same thing that you're going through, because there is power in struggling together and overcoming something. I truly think that is a blessing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's why like we're called to a church, right? Doing the whole Christian thing is not a solo effort. The church is the community of believers. And so, yeah, completely believe the kind of secret sauce there is having other people to not only just empathize with the struggle, but also to encourage you in the victories, small and big. Well, Sarah, if somebody is drawn to working with you, if they kind of notice that they're having issues, whether that's fertility or they have been diagnosed with PCOS or they're resonating with your journey, how could they start working with you? What's one of the first steps that they could maybe connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone can find me at Simply Sarah Healing. That is my Instagram. I'm most active on Instagram. My website, simplysarahhealing.com. And I offer two things. So I offer private one-on-one coaching, which is you and I work together to come up with a plan, whether it's a sustainable weight loss or hormone balancing, PCOS, or infertility. And then I offer my collective, which is She Rebalanced. And that is the group collective where we meet once a week and you really get in community. You learn all about health, whether it's nutrition, lifestyle adjustments, and hormones. Very holistic based, mind, body, and soul. It's a beautiful program. So if you're looking for community, that's the place to be.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Sarah, so much for coming on, sharing your birth story, sharing your wellness journey. I know so many women are going to be encouraged by this. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. I'm so excited.
That's it for today on Faith Over Fear, the Christian Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I hope today's conversation encouraged your heart and equipped you to trust God more deeply in your pregnancy, birth, and motherhood journey. Hey, before you go, I want to gift you with a freebie. I've compiled some of my most popular resources inside the Christian Mama Birth Prep Library. It includes practical birth prep handouts, such as the labor positions cheat sheet, birth preferences checklist, and provider questions guide. You'll also get exclusive discounts and even a worship labor playlist to bring God's peace into your birth space. To get instant access, simply visit faithoverfearbirth.com or click the link in the episode show notes to sign up. You'll receive immediate access to these valuable resources created just for you. If today's episode blessed you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with some other mamas who could use this encouragement. Your support helps more women find this podcast and embrace faith-filled birth and motherhood. Let's keep choosing faith over fear. Bye-bye for now.